Welcome back to a bit of Raw Talk, and today I'm going to be talking about UFC 239 from Las Vegas, and it's a pretty stacked card, this one. Even the prelims are looking good, um, and to think that fights like Francis Ngannou versus Dos Santos was meant to be on this card, um, Sean O'Malley, oh, if it wasn't for the USADA troubles, he would have been on this card, so still quite stacked. I'm only going to be talking about the main card fights because they're just so good, and there's a lot of different elements to break down for each fight. So this might be a longer video because there's five very good fights on the main card, and starting off with Diego Sanchez versus Michael Chiesa, and this should be an interesting fight. I think Michael Chiesa is this close from fighting a ranked opponent. If he goes through Diego, I think a ranked opponent is in order for him at welterweight. Uh, Diego Sanchez looked incredible against a Mickey Gall in his last fight. I predicted him to lose, but he really brought the fire, man. He looked like he was 25. You can't tell how old this guy is, and I will give him credit for how good he looked, but I also think that had to do with something about Mickey Gall and where his head's at. I don't think he came in to that fight very prepared enough. I think he took it for granted. I think he was a bit uh, cocky and he thought he would just run through Diego, but uh, we all saw what happened. So it's he deserves credit, but also his opponent deserves to be kind of shamed for how he came into the fight. Chiesa, on the other hand, I think he's no Mickey Gall. I think he's very focused. He wants to make a mark at welterweight. He looks very happy to be at welterweight, whereas at lightweight he kind of seemed a bit moody during fight week and stuff like that. So now seems in a good mood. He looks good at welterweight. He's very tall and lanky. He uses his range well, even though with Chiesa, it's all about taking his opponent to the ground and looking for ground and pound or a submission. Um, in terms of this fight, I think that Chiesa might struggle to take Diego down. I think he'll have to use his striking defense during the fight. Uh, but eventually, I do think that Chiesa will grab hold of Diego, sort of wrestle him to the ground, and sort of impose his ground and pound and look for a submission. Um, You'll have to be careful. I think Diego will want the fight on the feet predominantly, or if he really wants to, he's going to look to take Chiesa down himself. So I do expect the fight to be, for the most part, on the ground and just those two looking for top positions. Um, However, I do give the edge to Michael Chiesa. I think he will win via decision in this fight. Next up, you got Luke Rockhold versus Jan Blachowicz. Jan, I have said before, he's one of the most underrated guys in the UFC. Great cardio for such a big guy. Great striking. Good on the ground. What can you ask for more than that? Luke Rockhold, on the other hand, he's also similar. He's very good at every single aspect of fighting. Maybe his boxing defense can improve. And he's making the step up to light heavyweight, which is exciting. Light heavyweight needs more contenders. Um, in the past, when fighters sort of move up to a division that they think is better for them, it takes a little time for them to adjust. It takes a little time for them to get used to the weight. Um, they seem to gas out a bit quicker as well. The thing with Luke is he's been out for a very long time, almost a year and a half since his last fight, and he's been talking about light heavyweight a lot. And I think he won't need that adjusting period. I think he will be fine, ready to go, and take on this fight. Should be an interesting matchup. Like I said, Jan Blachowicz is no joke. I think it's interesting that the UFC are just putting Rockhold straight into the top contenders at light heavyweight. They obviously believe in him, and I'm really interested in this fight. I think Rockhold should win this fight. Um, Maybe by a finish in the second or maybe in the third round. Um, Simply because now he'll carry more power in his hands. He'll feel better going into the fight. So yeah, I'm gonna edge it out for Rockhold. I think he'll get the finish second or third round. And on to the next fight, which is, in my opinion, the best fight on the card. I think in terms of matchups, styles, and also just the talking between the two has been quite entertaining, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in this fight. I think Masvidal is um, kind of underrated again. He's striking very good, in particular his boxing very good. Good on the ground, good wrestling, great cardio as well. Ben Askren, just a top wrestler, top level wrestler, um, and very tough. I was not expecting Ben Askren to come back the way he did against Robbie Lawler. I thought the fight would have been over, but he came back and won that controversially, but he still won the fight. Uh, Masvidal, on the other hand, he knocked out Darren Till into another universe, and I did not predict that. In fact, I said Darren Till would win the fight. So I was very surprised to see Masvidal uh, take that performance, and full credit to him. I think that this fight will be obviously very different because Ben Askren is just a wrestler. He won't really engage with the striking. Um, so Masvidal will need to keep moving around, make sure that Ben Askren doesn't grab a hold of him, because I think as soon as Ben grabs a hold of Masvidal, I think it's going to be a tough night for Masvidal. I don't think he'll be able to easily get away from Askren. I think Ben Askren will just use that sort of smothering style in his face with the pressure and eventually get a takedown. And once he gets a takedown, it's very hard for anyone to come up. I don't think we'll see a finish. I think, this fight could go either way. I think I've been very impressed with Masvidal to the point where I can't really pick someone against him convincingly. It's very hard to pick against him now. But I'm gonna do it once again. I think Ben Askren will just edge it out. I think he'll just be dominant with his wrestling, and he's going to fight with a point to prove. I think a few people are sort of questioning the legitimacy of Ben Askren after his last fight, and I think he'll go in there with a point to prove, and I think he'll win this fight convincingly by decision. And onto the co-main event, which is the greatest female fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes versus Holm. Not the easiest of fights for Amanda. I think Holm is definitely a worthy contender simply because bantamweight is struggling right now. There's zero contenders in that division. It's really bad. People complain about flyweight. Look at bantamweight. Look at women's bantamweight. It's struggling. So it makes sense that Holm gets this fight. These two have never fought before, which is kind of weird to me. Top contenders. They fought all of each other's opponents. Holm has come up against Miesha Tate, lost to her. They both beat Ronda Rousey. Holly lost to Cyborg, whereas we know Amanda absolutely starched Cyborg at the end of last year. So, like I said, not the easiest to fights for Amanda because Holly is is a counter puncher, very experienced as well. But I still think Amanda will just carry more power. And even though Holly would have to catch Amanda with a perfect place kick, I don't think she has enough power in her hands to knock out Amanda. So it would have to be like a high kick, similar to the Ronda Rousey fight. The thing is, Amanda Nunes has much better striking than Ronda does, and I don't see that happening. I don't think this will be a fast fight. I don't see a first round finish, but I do see Amanda asserting her dominance, using her striking, and just sort of taking apart Holly, and then eventually around the fourth, maybe even fifth round, finishing her. So I'm going to go Amanda Nunes, TKO, let's say fourth round. And then on to the main event, which is Jon Jones back against Thiago Santos. Good fight. I mean, it's not. I like this matchup more than I did the Anthony Smith one, because I just thought Jon Jones is a bigger, better version of Anthony Smith, whereas Thiago, he's more of a unpredictable guy, because his striking is, in terms of technically speaking, it's not the best striking, but he has so much power that, if he connects once, you're pretty much gone. He's sort of like the new Rumble Johnson of the division, that you hope he doesn't connect with his hands. He has a lot of power in his kicks as well. He's very good on the ground. So I think Jones will have to be a bit careful in this fight. He shouldn't just walk forward and just be careless against Thiago, because he can get punished for it. Saying that, I think Jon Jones is a very clever fighter. The only time I can remember him getting caught or getting pieced up at times was against DC, but DC is a very good boxer, very good at getting into the pocket. I don't think Thiago is as good as DC in terms of striking or in terms of fight IQ. So I like Thiago Santos, but again, I just don't see him contesting much with Jon Jones. Against any other light heavyweight, for sure, he definitely has a chance. Against Jon Jones, I just don't see it. I think Jones will be too smart and too good. I think he'll just take him down, ground and pound, similar to the way he beat Gustafsson last year. And yeah, I'm going to say like a third round finish maybe for Jon Jones. And he's going to keep his title and hopefully go up to heavyweight and fight DC one last time. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.